What's going on, everybody? It's just another day in the kitchen, back with another episode. Now, we all know Travis Scott at this point is the king of merch, but today we're taking a look at some random pieces and drops you might not have even known existed. And for those of you that are still waiting on an update on your Utopia shipping, let me know in the comments. Every day I see more comments of people letting me know that they're getting updates, so I hope that you're up next. And before we hop into this video, I just want to give a special shout out to all of you guys that viewed my video on the Cause Utopia Tee review. I thought it was a really cool video to make, and I appreciate all of you guys, so while you're here, you might as well drop a like and subscribe. Now, the first forgotten or random piece of Travis Scott merch you probably didn't know existed was this Free the Rage shirt right here. Now, this drop takes us all the way back to 2017, and as you can see, it was only available online for 48 hours. Even back in 2017, shipping times on this t-shirt were 3 to 4 weeks, which is a huge improvement over today's Utopia standards. Now, you might be wondering why Travis Scott's mugshot is on this t-shirt, and he was actually arrested for inciting a riot at a concert in Arkansas back in 2017 May. And allegedly what happened is he told people to rush the stage, and in the process, a couple of people got hurt. Let's take a look at some actual footage from the show. Now, I don't know about you, but from viewing the footage, I think it looked like a really good time. And of course, I do feel for anybody that was injured, and I know it's no joke, just look at the Astroworld Festival tragedy. Now, one of the people that was injured allegedly was a cop, so I think that's part of the reason why they shut down the show and ended up pressing charges against him. But with LaFlame and his team being the geniuses that they are, they were able to turn this negative into a positive and create this dope viral moment. As you can see, the merch was only $45 for the tee, and I wanted to point out this flaming cactus character, which actually was Travis Scott's mascot back in the day. You'll end up seeing it throughout a lot of his merch, and I'm still going to make a video on my merch from 2015 when I first saw him, because I think it would be cool for you guys to see that same flaming cactus logo in use. Now, I did find this screenshot of somebody that was able to cop this, and as you can see, the shirt ended up going from $45 all the way up to $75 because they were tripping and charged $30 for shipping. Now, I know that things happen with shipping and sometimes it's justified, but come on, my boy. And to give you guys an idea of what this merch looked like all the way back in 2017, I did find this listing online. I wanted you guys to be able to see what the actual logo looked like, and you can see the quality isn't the greatest when it comes to the mugshot, but it is cool to see this Cactus Jack branding in use here on the tag all the way back in 2017. Now, the other thing I wanted to point out about this drop that I think is dope is the fact that the shirt included the free sticker, and as you guys know or didn't know, Travis Scott was big on calling his fans his ragers, and he was always about raging at his shows. Now, to follow up this drop, we have an equally interesting and random collaboration that took place in 2017. As you guys can see, Cactus Jack collaborated with the movie franchise The Texas Chainsaw Massacre to create these really random pieces that were released to support a Halloween-themed concert that took place on October 28th, 2017 in New York City, of course headlined by LaFlame. And if you didn't know, The Texas Chainsaw Massacre is a horror classic from 1974. Now, as you can see from some of the prices, apart from this first tee, most of them end up retailing for $40, which I think is pretty reasonable. Now, you know I had to nerd out and bust out the inflation calculator, and by today's standards, these same tees would be retailing for $49.99 with inflation, which all things considered is still pretty consistent with his Utopia merch branding today, although I know most of those pieces started at $55 for the cheapest. Now, this tee right here is definitely my favorite, but of course the most memorable and legendary item from this drop is the mask, and we'll go ahead and do a more in-depth look at that here in just a moment. Overall, I'm not too impressed with these designs or this collaboration otherwise because there's not enough Cactus Jack branding in my opinion. I think on the back or the front of some of these tees there might be the little Cactus Jack logo on the breast, but to be honest, I think they could have done a lot more. And let me know in the comments if you agree. Now, I did want to point out that the overall aesthetic and design of the website I think is really cool, and the blood splatter definitely has that whole Halloween vibe to it, but I did want to mention it because I gotta give credit where credit's due. And here we have the most iconic piece from this drop, the Leatherface Cactus Jack mask. It's inspired by, again, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and if you didn't know about the character, he would basically wear a mask made out of his human victim's flesh. And no, I'm not trying to scare you, but apparently this happened or was based on a true story. And the other big thing I wanted to point out is the fact that this item only took 3 to 4 weeks to ship out. I know he wasn't as popular back in 2017, but can you imagine if we got the same kind of shipping even for Utopia otherwise? And I also did just want to shout out Travis Scott one time because I think it's dope that he's always got some kind of novelty item for his drops. I know a lot of artists probably wouldn't care, but I honestly think that this is pretty hard. And if you want to get it by today's standards, it'll only run you about $140. Although you already know there's going to be some kind of resellers out there trying to tax and finesse you, so good luck and be careful. Now this next release is going to fast forward us 2 years to 2019. Travis Scott randomly decided to bless us with the track Highest in the Room, and honestly I haven't stopped listening to it since. And although I know there are some fans that were able to get their hands on this in 2019, I think for the most part it's largely been ignored or just forgotten because of how much Astroworld merch there was in general. However, this does feature one of my favorite pieces of all time. And you might be wondering why the hell a single song got its own merch release like this, but honestly it was something special. And as you can see, back in 2021, the song had already hit 1 billion streams, and I can only imagine how big it is now. So if you like the song Highest in the Room as much as I do, let me know in the comments. Now I just wanted to go ahead and take a look at some of these pieces so you guys can see, and here's a little figure on the left with the words Highest in the Room around it. Now back in 2019, to charge $45 for a tee is about consistent with today, although $10 cheaper than the cheapest Utopia tee from the most recent merch, of course. Now, as you can see, there were a lot of pieces from this merch that had to do with the actual sales of this when it comes to kind of boosting the sales of the single. And honestly, I think any of these pieces were really raw to own. I like the whole UFO Astroworld branding that we've seen. And of course, what's any great Travis Scott drop without some kind of hoodie? Now, unfortunately, I didn't get a price on it, but I would have guessed anywhere from $75 to $95. But I wanted to focus your attention on this piece right here, which is one of my favorite pieces of Travis Scott merch in general. Personally, I love tie-dye, and I think that this design is really raw. When you got the tee, your design could actually vary, so every piece was essentially one of one and custom, and I really like that design on the right. Now, to own this tee nowadays, it's not so expensive, which I think is awesome for anybody that missed out on this drop and wants to get their hands on it. It'll only cost you just a little bit over retail. Now, to round out this video, I wanted to share one of my favorite pieces of Travis Scott merch that I actually own. Back in 2018, the late Virgil Abloh, creator of Off-White, decided to do collaboration with Cactus Jack to celebrate Astroworld in a very limited amount of pieces. And essentially what this Off-White collaboration consisted of was 2 of the same shirts with just a couple of different variants. And for Virgil's version of the t-shirt, it featured the iconic Travis Scott rodeo action figure wearing these Off-White Chicago 1s that Virgil of course designed. These shirts were only available to purchase in person at Virgil Abloh's DJ set at Sony Hall on August 10th, 2018. And they were limited to only 500 pieces in general, so if you did get your hands on them, they're extremely rare. We'll see here in just a second Travis's version of the shirt, but personally I think that this is so dope and a cool way to add Virgil's touch to it, especially given that Travis here is wearing the Off-White Chicago 1s. Nowadays, those sneakers fetch anywhere from $5,000 to $6,000 or even $7,000 for some sizes, and if you want to hear the story about how I got my hands on them when they originally released back in 2017, and as well as what rapper I was supposed to sell them to, let me know in the comments. And just for reference, in today's day and age, if you want to get your hands on this piece, it's going to run you over $300. This one was super rare like I mentioned, plus it's an Off-White Cactus Jack collaboration, so you really can't go wrong. Now like I mentioned, Travis of course had his own variation of the shirt, which features the same rodeo action figure, except it's wearing the Cactus Jack Jordan 4, with the tee being online for only 24 hours on August 9th, 2018. Now if you made it this far, I appreciate you watching, and let me know what your favorite piece of merch was from this video. If you like this type of video, let me know in the comments so I can keep making more that are similar. And as always guys, please stay safe out there. Thanks for cooking with the kitchen. It's lit. Straight up. Peace.